Hey guys, this is a quick demo of my trigger to MIDI breakout box. It's a little box that's designed to be the same width as the Korg sample, Volca sample, and it's about 50 millimeters wide. It has a 3D printed box, you can see. It's powered by a USB-B, which also connects it to the computer if you want to reprogram it or change it. Has a Raspberry Pi Pico inside. And let me go over the features real quick. It's got 10 digital inputs. These can be any voltage, a positive voltage that will trigger. There's transistor for each one that buffers it to the 3.3 volts that the Pico needs inside. So each of these inputs will trigger a different sample on the Korg. Let me plug in. I'm going to hook it up to a grids right now on my Euro rack. So the grids is sending out digital signals to each of these, and we can and of course if you change your pattern or your patch on the Korg sample, it'll change with it. So that's one function. Another function, right now I've got it, the Korg sample is synced up with my Eurorack. So I've got another input that you have there is the start and stop input. So this kick is coming from my Eurorack, and then it's sending a digital here which starts and stops the sequencer. Because it's synced up with the Eurorack, it stays in sync. Now the way I see using that would be you could program a beat on your sample in the first 5 sample locations, for example, and then you could send the rest of them from your Eurorack to trigger other samples. So you could start and stop your sequence from the Eurorack. One thing to note, it has 2 MIDI outputs, tip ring send MIDI outputs, so you can use an adapter to go into the MIDI, the DIN. I actually have a tip ring send port added on that I added on to my Korg sample, so I could just plug it in the side there. But that's not required. You can use one of those adapters. And then it has 2 other things. It has an analog in with a switch. This goes 0 to 10 volts, and then a knob. These aren't currently really doing anything. They're kind of for future expansion. Unfortunately, the MIDI implementation on the Korg sample is very minimal. It lets you trigger the notes with MIDI notes. You can't change the velocity of them in MIDI. You can't do a lot of things. You can't change the memory pattern, which would be awesome if you could do that, but you can't. So I kind of put those in there to play around with and get running if it turns out that there's something useful. But for now, they're not super useful. So that pretty much explains what it does. And oh, one other thing. Inside the software, you can configure what output each of these goes to, which MIDI output, and then which MIDI note and velocity. So you could have 5 of these going out MIDI out 1, and you could have the other 5 going out MIDI out 2. So you could hook 2 samples up, or you could hook up a Volca keys. Of course, this only sends out MIDI note on and off. So it's just going to be, you know, if you want to trigger something else, but it might be useful for triggering other different Volca modules or any other thing that takes MIDI, to be honest. So it's configurable inside the software. The software is changed using the MIDI port on the side here. You can check out the Raspberry Pi Pico. It's pretty easy to program, easier than Arduino in my opinion. And the stuff that you would want to change is at the very top of the code, so you can just go in there and make your changes and send it to the Pico, and you're good to go. If anybody wants a PCB, let me know, and I'll have a GitHub link for where you can see the schematic if you want to build it on perf board by yourself without purchasing any PCBs, or if you want to just see what it's about, you'll be able to go there and check it out. So thanks for watching.